So let's go through some ideas. What I'd like to do is usually when I'm teaching with individuals and groups, I like to focus on food, water, and air, because those are the points of entry for these toxicants. So maybe we can give the audience some ideas, and I'll talk about detoxification processes as we go. I think the biggest one is food. So we've already mentioned BPA. So when we think of food, this is something that's within our control to some degree, right? And so many times people won't change what they're eating, but they might change how they are cooking it. And so one of the biggest offenders in food is the cookware, how we're cooking it. And some people are overcooking, and then they get the production of a lot of these carcinogens. And many times the pans that we're cooking in, they have aluminum, they have Teflon. The Teflon especially, this is a perfluorinated compound that does not eliminate from the body very readily. It stays in the body over a long time. So I think even focusing on cookware, focusing on glass, stainless steel, having ceramic, titanium plated type of cookware, I think is really important. And not cooking too high on heat. Slow, low, moist methods of cooking rather than dry, hot heat is important. And, even oils. My PhD was in essential fatty acids. And one of the things that I see as a toxic offender in the kitchen is when I see people with plastic containers of oils. I was just in the grocery store, in a healthy store the other day, and I saw a plastic tub that was transparent of grapeseed oil, just to buy it in bulk. And it was just sitting there in the light. The light's going to degrade it. It's in plastic. That's not good. What about roaster chickens in bags under the heat lamps at the store? Anything with plastic and heat with our food is not a good mix.
And also people are sometimes microwaving food with a saran wrap over top. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, that saran wrap is almost melting into your food.
Right.
Please stop.
Yes. And so here's where people get the fear factor and they think, oh my goodness, what does this mean? I have to toss all of my plastic. And here's the tip. Just don't expose the plastic to heat, right? If we can just use it as a neutral container, because we don't want to add to landfill. We don't want everybody's Tupperware to now be dumped into the landfill, and then it's just going to recirculate through everything. But if we can wait until the food cools, and if we want to store it in that way, that's good. For plastics that have been sitting over time, they will start to degrade. So that's the only thing we have to think about. So if you have plastics that are kind of scuffed, they're old, these, regardless, with acid, like if you put tomato sauce in a container like that, it's going to start to leach into the acid, and heat allows that penetration and that migration of plastics. So I think we need to be thinking about, if it's not just what we eat, it's how we're preparing it. The containers that we put to store the food is something of note.
Deanna, I'm really glad you mentioned the Teflon. About 5 years ago, I had breakfast at a colleague's house, and his wife was making buckwheat pancakes with some, real maple syrup. And I was really excited until I saw her. She was cooking on a Teflon pan, and there was scratches all over the surface. And I froze with fear. I said, whoa, wait a minute. Not only is the Teflon bad, like you mentioned, but when there's scratches in it, it's a focus for bacteria. And so now you're adding a lot of bacteria to the food. And some of these, microorganisms have a high heat point where they can survive, even cooking. So I was shocked. And
what did you do
on it because she did throw it out?
Oh, well,
and the ravages of being a doctor, sometimes you pass that information off, but she was very, very grateful, but anyway, I'm glad you mentioned the Teflon. I wanted to emphasize that.